Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, so a little bit of good news, a little bit of troubling news, a little bit of everything today. But I do have an update on that German cruise ship that was quarantined in Argentina and the new protocols for people flying into the United States and leaving the United States and flying into Canada and the complete confusion at the borders right now. So first off, the cruise ship that was quarantined has now been released. The crew member there tested negative. So the ship has been able to go on its way. There's no word if that was an actual Omicron virus or if it was just plain old Delta variant that we have nowadays. So that's good news. The ship is gone. A lot of people were saying, including some officials and people in the know, saying that, yeah, they should never have brought the ship and isolated it and things like that. Now apparently some passengers did get off the ship, which has set a big controversy in the port, that some passengers were allowed off and meanwhile they knew this was a possibility. Let's just leave it at that. It's one thing to deny a cruise ship going into port over worries while they're testing to make sure everything's okay. It's another thing to isolate a cruise ship again, which is very reminiscent of what happened with the Diamond Princess, the Ruby Princess, and other cruise ships around the world. So let's hope we just avoid that in the future. Now, people who are trying to come into the United States from outside of of the country, we now have the new rules, right? If you now have to test 1 day, not 3 days anymore, not 2 days anymore, 1 day, 1 day ahead of your arriving in the United States. Not a big deal if you live in the United States, a pretty big deal if you live outside of the United States, because now you not only have to arrange a test just to fly the day before you're flying and get that organized, but you have to arrange a test at your arrival place if you're going cruising, because you have to have a test within 2 days. And most people fly in at least 1 day ahead of time. So to try and line that up is not an easy feat at all. It can be a complication sometime, especially if you have a long flight ahead of you. So that's some changes that are going on with the border. There's still some very big confusion on what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. They're not sure about the local flights and what's going to be required of that. In Canada, they have come out with every single person who flies now, unless you have a written medical exemption or a written religious exemption that's been proven and quantified, you have to be vaccinated to get on a train, a bus, or a cruise ship, or a plane. And that's caused a little bit of an issue in Canada. But now with these new restrictions that are coming in, they have also implemented brand new protocols for people returning or flying into Canada. And well, let me get into that. Let me just ask you to hit that subscribe button if you want to keep up to date with all these new stories and the quarantine stuff that's going on, the Omicron virus, all things that might affect your cruise and things in the future. Plus get tips and tricks and vlogs and all kinds of fun stuff. We don't always have to talk about the heavy stuff, but we do when it's in the news, like in Canada. Starting immediately, if you are allowed to fly into Canada, because there are now 9 countries, mostly in the Southern African region, that are not allowed to fly into Canada right now under any reason. However, if you're flying in from the UK, if you're flying in from Bahamas, if you're flying in from any place else, Mexico, you need to have that PCR test to fly in. You're also going to have to quarantine, get a test when you arrive as well. They'll give you the home kit, get a test. You're gonna have to quarantine where you're going. You're gonna have to fill out on the arrive can where you're gonna quarantine, even if you are vaccinated, even if you're a fully vaccinated person, which is a big change from what it was. If you were fully vaccinated before, it was just a random person that would get chosen to do the home test. Now it's going to be every single person flying into the country. However, there is a slight variant to that, and the variant is not if you're flying in from the United States. So right now, and remember, that's right now, as of this video, you can fly in again. So you can go to a cruise, you can take your cruise, land back in the United States, and fly back to Canada. Because you're flying back to Canada from the United States, you don't need to do the home test. You don't need to quarantine as long as you're fully vaccinated. That can change. That can change in a heartbeat because things are being thrown at the protocol system without really any information yet, any science-based backing, anything like that. They're just throwing out the protocols so they can look like they're doing something, because no one wants to be accused of not doing enough at the beginning when they had the warning about the Omicron. If they were seen doing nothing and it does turn into be a bad virus and a bad spreading and more catastrophe happens, then they would have been blamed for not acting fast enough. Now the worst thing they can do is be blamed for overreacting, and they can always ease restrictions if they see that it doesn't turn into anything at all. And let's hope that's exactly what it turns into, nothing at all. It's going to be a little bit nuts for the next 30 to 60 days. And we'll just have to see where this goes. I mean, they're reporting, oh, Omicron virus in Canada is more cases every day. When they say more cases, they mean 9 more cases. There's 33 million people, 38 million people if you count the children in Canada, and they're talking 9 more cases in Canada. That's a rise in the Omicron virus. So you can see how it's kind of very misleading right now, how severe things are. We have to wait and see. And blocking travel from other countries may seem like a good idea, but if it's already in your country, you're not going to stop it. And it just depends on how good the vaccines react, how good people's protocols are, and contagious this actually turns out to be. Because nobody knows yet. There is nowhere near enough data for them to figure it all out. So that's where we stand. The cruise ship is on its way. More protocols flying into the United States. More protocols flying back out of the United States and into Canada especially. Let's see what happens in the near future. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. We'll see more tips, more tricks, more travel blogs from around the world. Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.